48 felonies, 7 years of abuse. The Michigan babysitter case that stunned the nation. In a quiet township in Michigan, a place where neighbors know each other by name, where trust runs deep and families rely on one another, a horrifying story was quietly unfolding. A story that would one day shake an entire community to its core. Today, we examine the Michigan babysitter case, a shocking series of allegations that span 7 years and have led to 48 felony charges. Welcome to Unveiled Truth, Crime Tales, where we dive deep into real stories of crime, justice, and the human cost of violence. This episode is based entirely on verified reports from CBS News, WNEM, and TooFab. All individuals mentioned are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Before we begin, a note for listeners. This story involves allegations of sexual abuse against children. While we will not include graphic details, the subject matter may still be distressing. Listener discretion is advised. For years, she was known as the babysitter next door, kind, dependable, and ordinary. In Lee Township, a peaceful community in Midland County, Michigan, 63-year-old Gaila L. Bennett was trusted by many families to watch their children. Parents described her as helpful, quiet, and easy to trust. Someone you'd leave your kids with on a busy afternoon and never think twice about it. But behind closed doors, investigators now allege something unimaginable was happening. One woman, 7 years of alleged abuse, 48 felony charges, and an entire community asking, how did no one see it coming? Lee Township isn't the kind of place that makes national headlines. It's a quiet patch of Michigan farmland, population just a few thousand. Neighbors wave from their porches. Children play outside after school. Trust here is more than a virtue. It's a way of life. When someone needed help watching their kids, Gaila Bennett was there. Always available, always willing. For many years, parents said she was a blessing. No one could have imagined what police would later uncover inside her modest home on Prairie Road. According to the Michigan State Police, the first report came in early October 2025. A now older victim came forward, describing years of abuse she said began when she was just a child. What followed was an immediate investigation. Quiet at first, then rapidly expanding. Detectives obtained a search warrant for Bennett's home. Inside, they seized electronic devices believed to contain critical evidence. On October 20th, Bennett was taken into custody without incident. Police say she cooperated during the arrest. When investigators began reviewing her devices, they found material they describe as deeply disturbing. The investigation quickly grew, uncovering multiple victims, all reportedly under the age of 13 at the time of the alleged assaults. In total, prosecutors filed 48 felony counts against Gaila L. Bennett, including 24 counts of first-degree criminal sexual conduct with a child under 13, 12 counts of second-degree criminal sexual conduct, and 12 counts of assault with intent to commit sexual penetration. Under Michigan law, first-degree criminal sexual conduct involving a child under 13 is among the state's most severe crimes, punishable by up to life imprisonment. A Midland County District Court magistrate set Bennett's bond at $5 million. She is currently being held at the Midland County Jail, awaiting further proceedings. Her next scheduled hearing, a probable cause conference, is set for November 4th, 2025. When the news broke, residents of Lee Township were stunned. To many, Bennett had seemed like the last person capable of such acts. Parents have expressed disbelief, anger, and guilt, wondering if they should have seen signs, or if their own children might have been among the victims. The case has ignited conversations about trust, background checks, and how abuse can hide in plain sight. According to state police, the alleged abuse spanned from January 2013 to December 2020, 7 years during which families routinely dropped off their children at Bennett's home, believing they'd be safe. Investigators allege that during those years, Bennett not only abused children, but also took photographs of herself during the assaults. Authorities believe she may have also medicated some of the children, though details remain under forensic review. The children, all under 13, were reportedly assaulted in different parts of the home, including the basement and bathroom areas. Again, we will not include any graphic details, but what investigators found in the home and on those seized devices has been described by prosecutors as staggering. The case began, as so many do, with one voice, a survivor finally coming forward. Police say that after one of the victims disclosed years of abuse, detectives began quietly contacting other families whose children had once been in Bennett's care. The stories that emerged shared similar details: patterns of control, secrecy, and fear. Investigators soon realized they were looking at a long-term pattern of abuse spanning nearly a decade. On October 18, 2025, state troopers executed their search warrant at Bennett's residence. Neighbors described a quiet scene. No sirens, no spectacle. Inside, officers gathered digital devices, medications, and other items for forensic testing. They later confirmed Bennett was taken into custody without incident. She was booked into the Midland County Jail, where she remains held today. For years, no one reported anything suspicious. To those who knew her, Bennett was simply Miss Gaila, the neighbor who watched the kids, baked cookies, and lent a helping hand. It wasn't until one child, now older, broke that silence that everything changed. Police credit that single act of courage with unraveling a case that had remained hidden for years. It's a reminder that speaking up, even years later, can bring truth to light. Michigan State Police officials have called this one of the largest and most disturbing child abuse investigations in Midland County's history. A department spokesperson told reporters that detectives are still reviewing digital evidence recovered from the home. Hundreds of files, photographs, and documents that may confirm or expand the list of victims. Additional charges, they say, are still possible. Forensic analysis of the seized devices could take months, even longer, before the full scope of evidence is known. Police have not released the names or details of the children involved to protect their privacy. What is publicly known is that all were under 13 during the alleged incidents. And, according to reports, some may have been related to Bennett herself. That revelation has added another painful layer to an already devastating story. For families in the community, it's not just about the accusations, it's about betrayal. The loss of trust in someone who was once part of their everyday lives. As news outlets covered the story, shock gave way to sadness, and then to questions. How could something like this go undetected for so long? Were there missed warning signs? And how do you rebuild trust in a community where something like this could happen? Experts say it's not unusual for child predators to cultivate trust, not only with victims, but with families. They rely on the assumption that a nice neighbor could never do harm. That illusion of safety is what makes these crimes so hard to detect and so devastating when uncovered. Today, the home on Prairie Road stands silent. Police tape long since removed, but the questions linger. Inside, investigators documented the layout: a small kitchen, a basement, a narrow hallway leading to the bedrooms. Ordinary in every way, except perhaps for what they believe happened there. Neighbors told local reporters they see police cars drive by now and then. As digital forensics experts continue their work, connecting data from the seized devices. To them, the house is now a symbol of how evil can hide in plain sight. Under Michigan law, first-degree criminal sexual conduct involving a child is punishable by up to life imprisonment. Prosecutors described the case as complex, involving multiple victims, digital evidence, and overlapping time frames. At her arraignment, Bennett appeared before Midland County District Court Magistrate Gerald Ladwig. She spoke little, and her defense counsel did not immediately enter a plea. Her bond was set at $5 million, a figure prosecutors say reflects both the gravity of the charges and the potential risk to the community. Michigan State Police have made it clear this case is far from over. Detectives are still conducting interviews, reviewing evidence, and cross-referencing records from the period between 2013 and 2020. Each file, each photograph, each timestamp. Another piece of a complex puzzle that may reveal the full extent of what happened inside that home. Beyond the courtroom, this case has reopened national discussions about childcare oversight. How thoroughly are babysitters vetted? How often do families check for red flags? Many parents in Michigan are now calling for stricter local background check laws and better monitoring for unlicensed childcare providers. Child safety advocates say this case underscores an uncomfortable truth: that long-term abuse can occur anywhere, even in the safest seeming neighborhoods. Every true crime story leaves a trail of questions, but this one leaves something more: a warning. How could such acts go unnoticed for 7 years? How many other children in other homes remain unheard today? For those in Lee Township, it's a haunting reminder that vigilance and open communication can save lives. If you ever suspect abuse, report it. Even a small suspicion could make all the difference. Coming up after the break, we'll look at the legal path ahead for Gaila Bennett, the challenges prosecutors face in building a case of this scale, and what lessons communities across America can learn from the Michigan babysitter investigation.
You're watching Unveiled Truths Crime Tales, where facts cut deeper than fiction. Here, every episode takes you inside real investigations, untold confessions, and justice long delayed. We uncover the hidden stories behind history's most haunting crimes and the relentless pursuit of truth that followed. If you believe justice deserves a voice, subscribe to Unveiled Truths Crime Tales. Like this video, comment, and share to keep these stories alive.
On the morning of her arraignment, Gaila L. Bennett, age 63, appeared before Midland County District Court Magistrate Gerald Ladwig. Dressed in a beige jail uniform, she sat quietly as the list of charges was read aloud, one after another. 48 felony counts, each representing a separate alleged act against multiple children. As reporters noted, Bennett barely spoke. Her attorney confirmed she understood the charges, but no plea was entered at that time. For those watching, the gravity of the accusations became painfully clear. A lifetime of potential sentences stacked upon each other. The Midland County Prosecutor's Office has called this one of the most significant and heartbreaking cases the region has ever faced. A spokesperson told local reporters, quote, "The evidence we've gathered is extensive. Our priority is justice for the children and their families, and ensuring their privacy and dignity throughout this process." Prosecutors are expected to rely heavily on digital forensics, medical reports, and testimony from victims now in their teens. Experts say such cases are complex emotionally, legally, and technically. Each charge must be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. Bennett's defense attorney has not made public statements beyond confirming she will plead not guilty to all charges. He emphasized the importance of due process, reminding the court and public that every defendant is presumed innocent until proven guilty. In high-profile cases like this, public outrage can sometimes blur that legal line. But the system must rely on facts, evidence, and fair trial, no matter how shocking the allegations. The next key stage is scheduled for November 4th, 2025, a probable cause conference where prosecutors must show there's sufficient evidence to proceed to trial. This hearing will allow the defense to review police reports, witness statements, and digital findings from Bennett's seized devices. If the judge finds enough evidence, the case will move to circuit court for full trial proceedings, a process that could take months or even more than a year to complete. While the legal process unfolds, investigators continue the painstaking task of analyzing the evidence seized from the home on Prairie Road. Hundreds of photographs, messages, and electronic files are being reviewed by digital forensic specialists. Each file may serve as potential evidence or as documentation that supports the victim's accounts. According to Michigan State Police, additional charges may be filed if new evidence emerges. Forensic experts note that this type of analysis can take months, as investigators carefully catalog and verify every piece of data. Beyond the legal system, Lee Township is still trying to process the emotional aftermath. A once trusted neighbor now accused of unimaginable crimes. A community that must confront not only betrayal, but also guilt. Psychologists who specialize in small-town trauma say this kind of case can fracture relationships for years. Neighbors begin to question each other. Parents doubt their own judgment, and the sense of safety that once defined their lives disappears. Dr. Karen Miles, a licensed trauma counselor interviewed by CBS News, explained, "In close communities, these betrayals feel deeply personal. People trusted her. Now that trust is broken, and rebuilding it takes time, therapy, and open dialogue." Prosecutors have confirmed that victim advocates and counselors are working directly with the families affected by the case. Each child is receiving specialized trauma care, funded through Michigan's Victim Services Division. Confidentiality remains strict. The state emphasizes that no identifying details will ever be released. One local social worker told WNEM, "The most important thing right now is ensuring the children know they're believed, supported, and safe." This case has reignited national attention on the topic of child safety and caregiver oversight. Experts stress that background checks, though essential, are only one part of the equation. Parents are urged to maintain communication with their children. Ask questions, notice behavioral changes, and trust instincts when something feels off. Child safety advocates recommend conducting both local and state-level background checks, asking for references from other parents, checking for licensing or child care certifications, making unannounced visits during babysitting hours, and most importantly, creating an environment where children feel safe to speak openly. Because silence, experts say, is what allows abuse to thrive. To understand just how serious these charges are, legal analysts explain that each count of first-degree criminal sexual conduct with a child under 13 can carry up to life in prison. If convicted on even a fraction of those counts, Bennett could spend the rest of her life behind bars. However, building a case of this magnitude is not simple. Prosecutors must ensure every digital file is authenticated, every witness statement corroborated, and every procedural step followed precisely, or risk evidence being thrown out. As one former prosecutor told TooFab, cases involving multiple victims and historical timelines require surgical precision. There's no room for error. Perhaps the most haunting question remains: how did no one notice for 7 years? The answer, experts say, lies in patterns common to long-term child abuse. Perpetrators often appear trustworthy, involved, and helpful. They cultivate relationships not just with victims, but with entire families, so that when accusations finally surface, disbelief is the first reaction. Neighbors and friends of Bennett described her as a friendly grandmother figure, someone who seemed incapable of harm. It's that perception, the image of safety, that allowed the alleged crimes to go undetected for so long. What ultimately broke the silence wasn't only a victim's courage, but also technology. Investigators believe key evidence was preserved in digital photographs and files found on devices in Bennett's home. This digital trail, if authenticated, could serve as the backbone of the prosecution's case. In modern investigations, digital evidence often becomes the final voice for victims, unspoken proof that confirms what words alone may not. In the weeks following Bennett's arrest, local organizations began holding child safety workshops in schools and churches across Midland County. Community leaders are now working to establish a parent alert network, where caregivers can share verified information about child care providers and safety resources. What began as a story of tragedy has become a catalyst for reform. A wake-up call reminding parents and guardians everywhere that vigilance saves lives. For the families affected, the road ahead will be long. Healing is rarely linear. The pain of betrayal lingers, even as justice slowly takes shape. But out of every dark case comes a light. The courage of survivors, the determination of investigators, and the hope that their stories might protect others. As of this recording, Gaila L. Bennett remains in custody at the Midland County Jail on $5 million bond. Her court proceedings are ongoing, and investigators continue reviewing the remaining electronic evidence. The community of Lee Township continues to heal. Quietly, cautiously but together. Every true crime story ends with facts. But beneath those facts are people, children, families, and communities who live with the scars long after headlines fade. The Michigan Babysitter case reminds us that trust is sacred, especially when it involves children. That vigilance is not paranoia, and that one voice, no matter how small, can expose years of silence. If you ever suspect abuse, report it. You could be the voice that saves a life. You've been listening to Unveiled Truths, Crime Tales. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and help us bring more verified, ethical true crime investigations to light. For updates on ongoing cases, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And remember, stay aware, stay compassionate, because the truth is often hidden in plain sight.